that Deb with you? Hey, Deb.
Mama Deb.
Hey, guys. Happy Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. If you're new tonight, we just want to welcome you. We look forward to meeting you a bit later. But welcome, everybody. Everybody starts out muted, so that's normal. We have a couple announcements before we get started. We're down here, my screen here is down in Vegas, so you can see everybody in Vegas. And we got Becky from up there in Tacoma. So we got the Kents represented up there too. So hello, everybody. So a couple announcements first to Moms Group. Tomorrow morning, Moms Group, 11 a.m. Okay, ladies, this is for all ladies. You got to join us. On Wednesdays, 11 a.m., we take 1 hour to have our coffee together on Zoom, and it's so much fun. So all you ladies are totally invited. If you're new, please join us. If you can join us at 11 a.m., please do. Shoot me or Becky a message. We'll get you the Zoom link. We're in good hands with this group of ladies. It's a good opportunity to get to know each other more, talk about the topic from the night before. So if you can, definitely join us. Also want to mention, just put a little bug in your ear to mark your calendars for October 21st. We are getting ready. In June, we'll be kicking off our biggest fundraiser of the year. So that's coming. All the details to come, but for now, mark your calendars. Saturday, October 21st is going to be, is this our sixth one, Becky?
Yep.
Okay, sixth annual dinner auction, and it's going to be at the Muckleshoot Event Center there at the Muckleshoot Casino in Auburn, Washington. It's going to be a huge event. It's going to be the best one yet, of course. And so just make sure you've got your calendars marked and information to come on our needs, our procurement team and things like that. So mark your calendars. Becky, what do you got? Do you got anything?
No, I was just going to say that. I just wanted to remind people that we are a nonprofit. And, you know, the only way we operate is by donation. And so if you at your work can do matching funds to work, or you can nominate Battlefield Addiction for a grant, like recently, Sherry Pennington nominated us through VECU for a grant. And so that is just awesome. So if you either like work with a company that will do something like that, I hope you guys will think of us.
Yes. And if you're new, let me clarify too. There's two different organizations here represented. So Battlefield Addiction is a nonprofit. We're coming at you from Rebuild Recovery, two different deals. But yes, Battlefield Addiction and our services that we provide is the nonprofit, doing consultations with families. That's how we start with families. So if you're new tonight and you haven't had a consultation, please reach out. So we can do that. So yeah, just to clarify, the two different organizations, sometimes in the beginning it's kind of confusing for people. And if you have any further questions about that, you can let me know. But yes, thank you for mentioning that. And also a lot of our big corporations, Boeing, Microsoft, we're on donation match lists. So like our monthly partners, we've got lots of monthly partners out there. Thank you so much, you monthly partners who support this organization and keep us answering the phones for families who need. We've got $50 monthly partners. We've got $100 monthly partners. Your company, we are eligible for matching. So thank you to all of you who turn in your matches to Boeing, and we get that match check. It's pretty cool. So thank you for that. If you aren't already looking into that, check with your human resources and you get your donations matched. So, okay, I think that's it, Becky, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's move it over. Let me introduce you all to Mr. Kyle Munkers. Let me change the camera here. And sorry, it's taking me a minute here. There we go. So Mr. Kyle Munkers here, he's a manager over here at Rebuild Recovery, and he also is our comedian who brings us our Kyle's Corny Comedy Corner to start out our night. So take it away, Kyle.
All right. Everybody in the house loves this joke. So we went to a takeout place recently. It was called China A Go-Go. It was pretty good. But next time, we're going to try their biggest competitor, China A Stop. No, that's a bad
Boo.
one. You guys hear about this huge homeless fight that happened in downtown Seattle? True story. It was intense. Earlier today, and I'm not proud of it. I got pretty mad at Bryce. I got mad at him for being lazy. It's messed up. He didn't even do anything. A few weeks ago, I got attacked by a bunch of clowns. It's all right. I know self-defense. I went straight for the jugular. Emma, you can't see her sitting right here, has recently absolutely committed to a 36-week bodybuilding program. We don't know if it's a boy or girl yet.
I don't get it.
She's pregnant.
Oh, that took me a while.
The other day, I made some really good steaks on the barbecue on her flat top. Art came to me and said, "I like it well done." I said, "Thanks, man. It means a lot." This morning, Art and Angie sat me down, and they told me, that I've really grown as a person. I mean, their exact words were, "Kyle, you've gotten fat," but I know exactly what. All right.
Sorry, I muted you, Nico. Sorry. There you go.
Oh.
So, welcome everyone. I'm gonna. Okay. How's the sound? Does it sound good? I've been employed by addiction for 29 years. I started with 17 years of active addiction and followed that with 12 years of sobriety. And, what I'm going to do tonight is try to lead a conversation after this talk and lead a conversation about the evolution of I learned a long time ago, people said you got to meet people where they're at. So tonight I want to kind of lay out a roadmap of like where people are going in this journey and how this journey has evolved. And it starts basically at a fork in the road. And it's when addiction shows up in your life, whether it's your loved one or whether it's for you. And at some point you have to make a decision, and we say either it's going to end up being a tragedy or it's going to end up being a teacher. And so for me, whatever I put after addiction seemed to kind of make it so. So when families come to us now and they say addiction is a tragedy, it usually ends up that way for them. But I think that learning from addiction, for me, addiction is a teacher, and it's been my number one teacher and my employer, and I've done this job for 29 years, and what it is a beautiful teacher. And I know a lot of people aren't ready to hear anything good about addiction because maybe you're in the war, but there is a lot. For me, as you watch this evolution and what it's taught me going along, I want you to locate yourself along this journey and see where you've found yourself. The first thing is that addiction taught me was it taught me pain. It taught me, before addiction, I was arrogant, really arrogant, more arrogant than I am now. And I was really judgmental, not judgmental in a good way, like we talk about here, but judgmental in a way that I perceived people that weren't like me as uncool, and I was the high school asshole, and I was the college asshole, and I was mean to women, and all of it. You can wrap it up. Who I I wasn't very proud of who I was. I was proud then, but I'm not now. As addiction started to take over my life, the first thing that did was it humbled me, coming out of it and finding it realizing what it does, the way it thrashes your life around, and the way it demoralizes you, and the way you feel inferior to people. And eventually it came out in the first lesson I learned from addiction was to be humbled. And it put me to my knees. And I love addiction for that. I love that it puts a person to their knees, because it's this beautiful place that we can grow from. If you get down on your knees and you feel what it's done to you, and it did that to me. It put me to my knees. I didn't know how to live life. And then you move in, and it also teaches you that there's people that, when you're in addiction, there's two types of people. You'll figure this out where you're at, but for me, it was predominantly, there was two camps of the way that people dealt with me. And one of the ways that people dealt with me was they tried to save me. And there was heroism. People tried to save me, and people tried to change me. And that was one thing people did. And the other thing, they let those people like to pay my bills when I got behind, and help me stay in an apartment when I didn't, so I didn't lose it. And they always had an answer for me and a place to go. And they like to buy me a phone if I lost my phone. And they would help with my car payments when I needed those paid. And then there was another group of people, and that really, the people that are heroics, the heroics, that's a good way to feel addiction. And then there was people that hated me. They didn't want me around. They were mean. They didn't want anything to do with me. They cut me out of their life. And those people also fueled my addiction, because those people made me continue to use, because F you, that's why I use, forget you. So that taught me that. It taught me that that's how people were going to deal with me. And then it taught me humility, and it taught me how to manipulate those two people. I could really manipulate between the haters and the heroes. I could really find my way of how to divide those people. And so when I got finally, and I think the next evolution of addiction is the war. At this point, somebody's trying to stop your addiction, whether that's the law, the bottom, the homelessness, whatever it is. But there's the point of the war, whether it's a parent, whether it's someone. So if you're a parent, maybe you know about this war of the point where you find out your kid's in it and you try to stop it. And so the next thing that happened was my dad put me to the test, and he won the war. He got me to get sober because of him. And that was beautiful. And I thank him for that. And then what happened was I got sober, and lo and behold, I wanted to help drug addicts. I thought that was a good idea. I don't know if I thought that was a good idea, or if I just thought, I don't know how to do anything else. But I went right down. As soon as I did it, I said, I got this great sense that I could be the hero to a lot of people. So I can't tell you that it was from a great place, but I started helping drug addicts, and I was on the heroic side. I always, one of the reasons I knew I was on the heroic side was I used to like to pick up homeless people and just bring them home. And, I always had I had these dreams of bringing a shaggy, dirty, homeless person that the family had cut off, and then I would give him a shower and a new set of clothes and some food, and then I would shave him up, get him a haircut, and I'd take a picture of it and then send it to his family and go, look what I did. I saved this person. And so I tried that, but eventually the heroes, what happens if you're heroics and you practice heroics on addiction. And that's what normally, if you're a family, what you need to know is as soon as addiction shows up in a family, everyone's a hero. Everyone wants to save. Everyone wants to help. But the next thing happens, you don't know how, and you're thwarted, and it's frustrating, it's dominating, and you don't know how to help, and you're trying so desperately. So eventually you switch over to anger and hatred. And now you're dealing with this person, and you're trying to protect your heart, and you're trying to cut them off, and you're trying to make sure you don't get hurt now. You started out, you didn't know you were going to get hurt, but it hurts you. And so then you evolved into this person that was angry and closed. And then you got in the war. Okay, I'm either angry, and it doesn't really matter when we're in the war if we're that angry or not, because at that point we're just trying to get our loved one in treatment. We're trying to do it any way we know how. It's just what we're trying to do. It's better. We've stopped buying them things. We stopped trying to be their hero. And then there's this beautiful thing that happens after the war. We get our loved ones into treatment. And we can't help them anymore because we only know anger and we only know hatred. So there's nothing we can do. We got to hand them off to someone else because we have the past. We have the resentments. And at this point, after the war, we get them into treatment, we need a break. We need this separation so that we can get our bearings and let the dust settle and go, what just happened to our family? And so it begins to teach at this point again. So after the war, now the families begin to learn. And the drug addicts, the thing I learned is coming into sobriety is I learned that now I want to be accepted. What I did was I tried to be accepted. That was prior to helping people. I wanted acceptance. I didn't really know about love yet, but I knew that I wanted acceptance, and I wanted to be accepted as a normal member of society. And then that's how I got acceptance, by helping drug addicts. And I went along, and soon helping drug addicts, and soon the heroics wasn't working. I got very resentful. I had sober housing and I had all these drug addicts living with me, but I hated them. And lo and behold, I was an addict, but I couldn't understand these addicts. I couldn't understand how possibly they could lie. How could they behave like this? And so I would have bouts of anger and resentment. And I thought helping people was just simply this thing where I told them what to do and they did it. I told them they were wrong and they listened. I thought that was how you help people. That was part of the evolution, is learning. And so here we all are, addiction as our teacher, learning how to help people. And I want you to locate yourself, whether you're in the hatred camp, the heroic camp, the war, you got your kid into treatment, now you're letting the dust settle. Which part are you at? So as this thing went on for me, I then had to learn something else. The addiction had to teach me something else. It had to teach me how to deal with my anger. You know, there's this thing called tough love. And I imagine all of you have probably thought you've done it, but you probably haven't, because people have done heroics and they call that love. And then they've done anger and they've called that tough. And you're in one of these two states. You're either angry and tough and mean, or you're in I'm going to save you mode. And neither one of these are tough love. They're just tough and they're love. So tough love is something that I needed to be able to develop. I didn't know. I didn't have it. I didn't have that skill. And so now you have to understand. And this goes along with anyone helping anyone. I want you to see that anytime we as a human being go to help someone, we start with heroics. I'll help you get a house. I'll help you get an apartment. I'll help you move. I'll help you walk again. I'll help you in the wheelchair. I'll help you do this, or I'll help you do that. I'll help you get a job. I'll help you with a place to live. And we try to help people. And we start by trying to be their hero. Eventually, that never works. And so the next thing that happens is we get angry with the person and we go into hatred. So this has been taught to me by addiction, that this is this evolution. And so as I went along with this, I started getting this idea of past acceptance. And I started, the families used to come to me, and part of my evolution was this, it was glorious, man, because a family could come to me and tell me how they've behaved with their loved one and what they've done. And I had this great opportunity. I could tell them how wrong they were. I could just, and it was fun for me. And, I thought, oh, this is perfect. I can just tell these people how wrong they are. What an opportunity. They come to me and they tell me how stupid they are. And I listen, and then I tell them how smart I am. This is a great system. And I thought that system worked, but that's not meeting people where they're at, you see, because I didn't really know the pathway of where people are at. But now I saw people were coming to me in the middle of the war, and people weren't thinking addiction was their teacher. They were thinking it was a tragedy. So as this thing went on, what it ends up doing is, after this piece, it ends up both closing our hearts and getting us to a place where we have to open our heart back up. It does both. It teaches you both. It teaches you how to close down and protect yourself, and then it teaches you how to open up your heart. And this is the point where we got our loved one in treatment, and now it's time. We try to open our hearts to each other and reconnect, and that's part of it. And so eventually it led me to this place where I heard this, and I don't remember where I heard it. I was trying all day to remember where I heard this, but somebody had taught me. It was a book, or it was a teacher, it was somebody, and they said, you want to help someone? Okay, great. Well, I want you to take these 3 things out of your repertoire. Because there's 3 ways you cannot help somebody, and you can do anything else. And they said, you can't help people with a lecture, you cannot help people by punishing them, and you cannot help people by negatively reinforcing their behavior, which means I can't be a genius and just tell people how bad they're behaving and have that help. And I can't be a genius and tell somebody, when I punish, when I lecture, when I negative reinforce, what I found along this evolution and what addiction taught me in this process was when I do those things, that's for me. When I give a great lecture and I go, that should work, I've told them how to behave now, I always think that that's for them, but it's not, it's for me. And when I'm able to point out how badly somebody's behaving and yell at them and do it, that's for me. And when I'm able to punish someone, that gives me satisfaction. That lets me know I'm dominant. I can put this punishment on somebody. So go ahead and ask yourself, what is left if you can't punish and you can't lecture and you can't negatively reinforce their behavior? What's left for you? How would you help someone? What would you do? You also can't do anything for them. You can't buy them things and you can't put them on the right track. And now what do? That's a question for you on where you're at in this evolution. And I don't expect people to be in the war and are part of, at that point, learning how to help someone. I think that the only thing that people need to do that are in the war is get their loved one into treatment and hand them off and say, there's nothing I can do at this point until I open my heart back up. So that's why we talk about opening our heart, because see, the next thing is what I've learned. I learned love. Now, I can honestly tell you that I never loved for 47 years of my life. I did not have love in my heart. I had desires, I had anger, I had resentments, I had I'm cool, I had let me show off, let me get stuff, but love was not on my radar. It wasn't cool for me. It wasn't something I contemplated. And I bet there's a lot of people in early recovery that still hasn't contemplated love. So what it teaches eventually is it teaches love. And what it does is it teaches us that we have to learn to love again. And so for me, it didn't just teach me love, it taught me that that was the only way to help someone. It taught me that actually shining a light on the good parts of people and getting that light to grow more and more was really the only way I can help someone. If I can love them and not see the negative things. And that's very scary to people. It was very scary to me. Well, how can I help someone if I don't point out all the shit they're doing wrong? If I don't put them straight, if I don't tell them how to get on the right journey, how do I help someone? Well, it's weird how it works. It's weird that we can stop pointing out the negatives and they would accentuate their positives. It's weird that that works that way, but it does. So at this point in the journey, I'm not telling you that I'm all loving. I'm not telling you, I'm telling that what I've gotten away, what part of the evolution that I'm currently on is not only do I want love, I question and answer what brand of love? What brand of love am I bringing to people? This brand for this person. And tough love, I don't like that word. What I like is accountable love. Love that makes people want to do better for you. Love that makes people accountable around you. Love that makes people step up because they want to show you more of the side of the positives that you've already pointed out. And that kind of love is a brand that I'm trying to develop. I'm not very good, but I'm working on it. And I think that has been in my life, this overview, this thing, getting to this place where that's what I want out of life, to be able to provide a special brand of love for everyone in my life. What my love does, that's the question. How does my love help? What does it do for people? And I think that we don't really, I think part of being honest about love and getting to a place where you can is admitting that you don't. Admitting that you haven't loved for a long time. Admitted that you haven't had love in your heart, that you've had anger and resentment and frustration and annoyance, and it's been difficult and it's hard. You've said mean things to each other and you've said angry things. But addiction teaches everything. 29 years. It's my number one teacher. It's not a tragedy, and it is a beautiful teacher. See, addiction isn't like, it's something that nobody knows what it is, but everybody knows what it does. And what it does is not hypothetical. What it does is scientific, and it does it to every family and every addict, and it's not a hypothesis, it will absolutely happen. And it is scientific in its effects, and that's what makes it this beautiful teacher, because it takes everybody from the path of open heart to my loved one's in trouble, now let's save them, doesn't work, now I'm angry at them, now I want them to figure it out, they don't have any more answers, to the war, we get the war and we finally get them in treatment, to the break, and then we have the break and the dust settles, and then after we start trying to open our hearts and love again. And it is a beautiful teacher along that path. So we say meet people where they're at. Well, where are they? And I want you to be able to describe to me where you're at in this journey, which part. Now, the other thing is here, people lose. I've seen my wife, the most beautiful woman, I saw her lose her son. And you can say, is that a tragedy for her? Did addiction work out for her? Is that a good teacher? And one thing I can tell you, because I've had the privilege and the honor to work with a lot of people that's lost their loved ones to addiction. And one thing I can tell you is it opens up their heart. I've never met an angry mother who's lost their son. I've only met people that are just gushing with love, and all the anger that they had with their loved one, all the frustrations, none of that's left. And what's left is this open, ripped open heart, and the nicest people and the kindest people. And no matter what, I've got to give addiction credit for that kindness and that awakening and that way that they now love because they lost. And I've seen it in every aspect. And I've looked all up and down this thing at a 360-degree angle, and I can't find anything else than a teacher. I can't find anything else than this path. And so even the ones that have to veer off and lose their loved one, still it goes from the break to reconnecting and opening our heart. And then sometimes our loved ones go back out there. And some people here now that our loved ones go back out there, but it's not the anger anymore. It's not it's really sadness. And people just go out and their loved one goes back out. It's just sad. Nobody in the family's mad anymore. Nobody's trying to save them anymore. And some families are on that part of the journey. So as you go down and locate yourself tonight and introduce yourself or have a discussion about maybe a disagreement about it being beautiful. But to me, addiction is the most beautiful thing that's ever happened in my life. And I owe my life to it. And it's the most beautiful teacher. And it's my job. And it's my job that actually it's my teacher that pays me. And I get this opportunity to live in this laboratory with these people, and we get to work together and try to open our hearts back up and connect with each other and love each other and learn to look at the positives at each other when our mind is so dead set on looking at the negatives. Our mind is so dead set at pointing out the negatives. And parents, it's so hard for you. I know it's got to be so hard because you think that if you don't tell your kid what's negative about them, like they won't know. And if you don't tell them and you don't point it out, they're not going to change. But see, that's the opposite. It's just not that way. People know why they're not behaving good. So when we point out the negatives, the person gets defensive, it closes their heart, it doesn't work. So find out, please, where you locate yourself. We'll meet you where you're at. And we'll try to take you to the next step of the evolution. And that's what we do here. We take families through every step of what we just told you. And if you can find yourself outside of one of the locations here that I just mentioned, whether that's, finding out your loved one's an addict and getting into the heroics, or going through the hater camp and everyone closing their heart, or the war, or the peace when they finally get into treatment, or the reconnecting, or the relapse, or even losing. If you can find yourself on a different part of that path, I'd be very shocked. So that's how we know how to locate people. We find where they're at on this evolutionary path. We find out what it's taught them so far and what it's still there to teach. I don't think this thing leaves until it's taught everything. I don't think many drug addicts get sober until they've had enough pain that they get humbled, or people in their life stop it and humble them and say no more. There's always that person, there's always that thing that's pushing us into treatment. And so I like to talk about this beautiful process, and hopefully meet some new people tonight. And we'll start out with, you just raise your hand and put the raise your hand feature. And
I want to call out Renee first, actually, because this is a topic I remember her. Renee, please, are you willing to talk? Because I can remember when she was new, she was like, you had just spoken the words, addiction is a beautiful thing. And she was like, I don't understand how he could say that. It's not beautiful to me.
That's true. I just had this conversation with my daughter this morning, actually, because I was telling her how Art and Angie both had said to me, someday, Renee, you're going to say addiction is the most beautiful thing that could have happened to you. And I thought, are you crazy? It's like screwing up the whole thing here. But yeah, full circle. My relationship with my son it's amazing. I mean, we talk, we're very open. It's just beautiful. Like he's just blossomed into, I don't know what you talk to him about, Art, or what he hears from you, but he seems to have really taken it to heart. He's very open with me, and it's a beautiful relationship. So yeah, for me, yeah. You know, I would have had a surface relationship with my son probably forever, but I don't feel that way at all. I feel like we're really close.
I also look better now.
Yeah.
What did he say?
He said he looks better now.
Yeah.
Opinions vary.
My mom joined the group too, Sandy.
Awesome.
So
Hi,
now Nico's grandma's on too, so.
Hi there. Good to see you.
Hi, Mom.
She's
muted, so we can't hear you, Sandy. Let's see. Can we get you unmuted?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just came back home, and so I'm so happy I can join too, because I really want to know what I can do for Nico, because he's my grandson. I mean, good Lord, my only grandson. I love him to death. So I'm so proud of him and so happy. And my granddaughter that I live with now just popped in, and I said, oh, you can see Auntie and Nico. She was telling me about friends that she have who vape, and she's only 14, and trying to get rid of that habit, she said, is awful. So she said, pray for Nico. Love you, Nick. Thank you guys for helping him.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
I don't imagine Sandra's heart's ever closed down on.
It doesn't look like it could possibly be.
Yeah.
It doesn't look possible.
I don't think he can do any wrong.
No.
Yeah.
I always tell him he's my favorite grandson.
Well, it's funny that the grandchildren can't do anything wrong, but the kids.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. The grandchildren and the dogs cannot. Because I got the dog sitting here with me.
It brings up a good point.
Yes.
Because it's so much easier for other people to deal with your children. It's so much easier for other people to love them. I mean, that's sad, but it gets to a point when you're not a parent, when you're a parent, that there's so much fear that you have to protect yourself. There's so much fear that you have to guard your heart, because it means so much to you about being a parent and who you are, this kid. And as a grandparent, it doesn't mean anything to you about that. So you can just love. You don't have to have all that fear. Same thing with us here in treatment. As long as we don't, or a man walking on the streets of Seattle that helps your kid that's homeless in Seattle. Well, he doesn't have any stake, he doesn't have any fear, and it doesn't mean anything to him. So he can just openly love. But when we have somebody like our kids or our student, whatever it is, there's so much at stake for us. And even me sometimes as a treatment provider, there's so much at stake for me that their success makes my success. So if I tie that together, I can get very frustrated and I can get very angry and I can close my heart. And it's taken me a long time in this evolution to not live that way, to understand that their success isn't my success, has nothing to do with me. And that took a long time, but that's the relationship between grandma and grandpa, the reason why that is. Because we're not the mother, and when it's your daughter, there's so much at stake. You want to grab that thing and make sure it's right, So that's the difference.
Also, Art, it's not just the relationship that I have with my son, my addict son. Well, he was, I don't want to put you in that, Nick. That's not what you are forever. But anyway, it's the fact that the compassion that I have for others, and just trying to understand other people. And I may have, before I started in this journey with Battlefield, I'm going to say I was judgmental, and now I really try to check myself and say, wait a minute, I have no idea what this person is going through, and they don't need my judgment. They just need my love and my, that's all they need. And, it helps with all kinds of relationships, the honesty that you talk to us about, like just being honest with people. It just helps me in every aspect of my life. So it's not just focused on my relationship with my son. So thank you.
Beautiful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Somebody out there needs some
Yeah.
help tonight.
Who
Somebody
else?
needs some. So who's next?
Yeah, and so the way that you get my attention is there is the reaction button on somewhere on your device. There's a raise your hand feature. I just raise my hand. If you cannot figure out that feature on your device, you can unmute yourself, get my attention. You can say hi in the chat, say I have a question. However, you can get our attention. We would love to hear from anybody, any questions, comments about the topic. Anybody going through it out there that really needs a coaching moment, we welcome that. This is your opportunity. We've got plenty of time. So who's next?
While we wait for a hand to go up, I just want to.
Did Lori mean to unmute herself to say something?
No, I thought that you would never hear me if I didn't unmute myself.
Okay. Oh, okay. Because we love to hear from you.
But I guess I would love to say that, I listened to what you said. I guess I don't see myself in the category of hatred. I did have to come to a place where I had to no longer help her. That was so hard. So as her parents and loving Hannah the way we do and knowing her potential and everything, and to see her kind of decline for a while was so heartbreaking. And then we found out that if we helped her and helped her and helped her, that was not helping. And so the hard thing for me during that time was to, Hannah, this was to not help. That was, I would say, the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life was not.
Yeah, but see, on the other end of that,
Yeah.
it doesn't, when people are cutting you off and they're not helping you.
Yeah.
It can feel a lot like hatred.
Sure.
No matter what. And it takes, and that's why people say, well, we did tough love. I would argue you did tough. Did they feel the love? So tough love is this skill that you're cutting someone off and not buying them things and not doing something, but they still know that you love them and they still feel the love. And that's why I don't think when you go through this thing, it's very easy to learn tough love until you get to a different place when the dust settles and your kids in treatment. So, but go ahead, complete.
Well, maybe that's, yeah, I mean, I see you're saying that, but at the same time, my love for Hannah has never, I've gotten frustrated with Hannah and how she's behaved, but everything I did was because I wanted Hannah. I didn't know, like you say, we don't know what we're doing, right? We have no clue what we're doing, but everything I did was motivated out of love. Now, whether she saw that would be hard, because for her to love her was to pay her bills. So that's how she saw
Okay.
it.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Okay. Well, we don't want to start a thing here, but when we are demonstrating the answer of whether there's love or not, and I would say, and we have to be very careful here, but the answer of whether there's love or not would not be from us providing the love. It would have to be from the person that was getting the love. And if a person says, I'm not feeling any love, well, that's probably because they're not feeling any love. Now, if there's love, and then they say, I'm feeling love, well, then they're feeling love. But if there's love, it's got to be filtered through something else. So it's coming out as, yes, it's from your heart. I understand that overall context of parents, they love their kids. And they're having to do these hard things they don't want to do. I get that. I understand that. Lori?
Yeah. Oh, so you're done. Okay.
No, it's just a
Well,
conversation.
Yeah, and I think I upset Hannah. I didn't mean to upset you, Hannah. I'm just trying to understand where I fall in this thing, because we were counseled before, to not enable, right? That's that word.
Yeah.
And so, for me, that was hard. And at the same time, cutting off, we still would meet with her. We would still take her to lunch. We would go do stuff. But
Can I give you an example? When I finally got into this thing, I'll give you one example really quick. This kid has recently passed. He was an 18-year-old kid, and he'd come to me, and his name was Zane. And Zane was in my program, and Zane went out and he worked a day, and he got a paycheck for $150. Now, I provided him that job. Somebody picked him up. He went and he got this paycheck for $150. He came home, he had the paycheck in the safe, and then about 2 days later, he decided he wanted to go get high. Okay? So now the managers at the big house are calling me. They're saying, Zane's going to leave and go get high. He's demanding his check. If we don't give him his check, he's going to call the cops. Well, they didn't have anything to do but be tough with him. And so I went over to the house, and I grabbed the check out of the safe, and I walked up in front of Zane, and I ripped up the check. And I ripped the check, and there was a tear in my eye from the way I felt about him. And I said, son, I can't give you this check. If I give you this check and you die, I will never be able to live with myself. I love you, kiddo, and I'm not going to let you go out there and do this. And he melted, and he gave me a hug. I ripped up his check, and he gave me a hug. Now, that was probably one of my first interactions with tough love. My first interactions with what it could mean, what is the possibility if that person felt love from me while I was holding them accountable. So this is just a small example of what it looked. And that was 4 years into my practice, 5 years into my practice, because normally, a couple hundred addicts in, because normally I would have went over there and go, quit, and I would have yelled at him. And I said, I'm not giving you this check. Stop it. You're pissing me off. And that's how I used to respond, with anger. And hatred's a strong word. So I don't want anyone to think it's a strong word, but we've seen it and people feel it. So it is there. But it's more anger and frustration on our part, and it looks like hatred to them. Just from my experience of being there, and there's other people that have that experience too on this end of it. And that's this beautiful thing about this teaching in this solution group is we're seeing all sides of it, and we're hearing reports from all sides of it. And it is true. I get it. I understand that maybe you did everything out. Maybe it wasn't love, though. Maybe the place that parents start working from stops being love and it starts being fear. And maybe we start working out of fear. And maybe we're scared to death. And maybe that's more true. And so everything we do starts working from fear. And it's hard to love when you're fearful. It's hard to give love. It's hard for them to feel love when you're scared to death.
Exactly.
So, anyways, thank you, Lori.
Thanks, Lori.
Yeah, I know right now you guys are letting the dust settle and you're learning and you guys are going to be opening your hearts to each other. So I do know where you guys are at in the path, and more will be revealed, and let it teach you about. And that's what this other thing about addiction, it did not show up for someone else. Every single person in this room, every single person on the Zoom, it showed up for you. And you have to take it from that standpoint that this isn't for everyone else. This showed up for me. What is it here to teach me? Not what is it here to teach my addict, not what is it here to teach others. What is it here to teach me? If it's your sister, it didn't show up for her, it showed up for you. So if it's your sister, what is it here to teach you? What are you learning from it? And that's the only thing we can do with this thing. It's living, it's growing, addiction, it's this thing, and we get to learn from it. It moves and it changes and it evolves, and then we just get to study it and learn from it. And everyone here, please make it be your teacher. Don't make it be your tragedy. Don't be a victim to it. Eileen, thank you, Lord.
Right. I have to say, for me, as when I was doing things for our son, I also thought, it was out of love. But towards the end, somebody finally said to me that, Eileen, this really isn't out of love. You have to look at it. It's really to eliminate your own pain. Because if you really looked at the situation, this is not loving when you're providing a place for people, rent for people to go and do heroin in, and other people's children too. And I had never looked at it that way, and so it was almost like I was contributing to the demise of my own child for my own pain to be released for a very short period of time, because then it would come back when there was another request. And so that's what finally I realized that really it was kind of a way of running away from it.
Did you ever get to the anger side of it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. But still, right, when he was right before he would get evicted, then the fear would come back. Oh my gosh, if he gets evicted, then he won't be able to do this, and he'll never get this back, and what'll happen to his credit, and all these things, were running through my mind. But really it was just to, eliminate my own pain, and it was out of fear, though. It was really out of fear. Thank you.
Mitra.
Let's get you unmuted, Mitra.
Got it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I think the fear is a huge factor, and especially right now, like my heart is super open to everyone. I mean, I just hired an incredible young man out of the Kent house, and my daughter is back, which makes me super emotional, but it's out of love and a lot of fear. I have a lot of fear right now, but I know the program it'll work. It's just going to take some time. And I think my family especially is learning that. I think there's a lot of fear in my family, and not knowing how to navigate this process has been really hard on everyone. But I just wanted to throw that out there, because there's a lot of emotion that goes through all of this, and I think it's all okay. I think that we're all allowed to have emotion and love and a little bit of hatred and a little bit of just everything. But
let's talk about how a mother can get to a place where they not only have to deal with their kid who's in addiction, they have to deal with the rest of the family who's either hating on them or mad at them, and you're trying to hold that whole family together. And you're trying to get, and don't they all have a bunch of great ideas and tell you how to do it? And, and everyone's telling the mother how they should do it and what they should do and what they say, and giving all the great advice. And you got to try to lead from fear and that advice and your heart, but you're trying with your heart. And boy, what a mix up, you know?
Yeah, it's a struggle, but like you said, it's all teachable moments. And boy, am I learning a lot about not only about addiction in itself and my family, but about myself. I've changed so much in the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months since we've been going through this. And I'm thankful every day for every bit of emotion and teachable moment that I've had. And you guys have really provided that for me. And that's what I've needed. And hopefully that's what, you know, Andy will see and the rest of the family will see. And it's just a process. We just have to go through it.
Very good.
Thanks, Micah.
You know, like I always said, there's four levels to this. And the first level of this is always, this is very interesting stuff. And the second level is, this is very interesting stuff. I know somebody in my family who needs this. Not me, but I know a family member who needs this. The third level of this is always, wait, I might need this. And the fourth level is, now that I'm using this, nobody else needs this. So that's the evolution. Just like I told you, you can find yourself on the map. If you, and I know some families, if you've gotten yourself to a point where you need this and nobody else does, that's when it's working the best. That's when everybody's gaining from it. If you're still in a point where you're like, man, my loved one needs this, then you're not using the teachings, most likely, yourself. And you're thinking that your pain will go away when your loved one learns how to behave. And it's just not true. So it's for look at that stages too and see where you're at. I went to this thing called the Landmark Forum, and they have the kind of the same stages. They do this teaching, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting stuff. The second stage was, wow, I need to get people here. Everyone in my life needs this. These guys are speaking to the assholes in my life right here. They're gonna let me. And then I started recruiting everybody to go. Come on, you gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta learn this shit. And then I got to a place where I went, oh, I'm learning this stuff. Nobody needs to come here. This was for me. And I did, and I stopped the recruiting, and I don't tell anyone to go there, and I just went for me. And it taught me to love again, taught me to open my heart to what I was doing. And man, nobody else needs that but me. When I open my heart, nobody else needs to do it. In fact, when I open my heart, my job is to open other people's hearts. Now, if something else opens other people's hearts, what good is that? I like to do it. I like to be a person who can open up people's hearts. And I think that's the final thing. What brand of love are you providing? So if you provide love, and love is the answer for all of us, what's your brand? Have you thought about what your brand is? Is your brand accountable? Is your brand compassionate? Is your brand kind? What kind of love is it? Do they feel it? Do the other people in your life feel your love? Will they testify to your love? Or is it this unknown brand of love that nobody else feels, but you're doing it, maybe? Carrie.
Hi. I wish more leaders would say my job is to open people's hearts. I mean, there's not much cooler leadership philosophy than that. Mm-hmm. And you've helped us, and we've had bumps and twists and turns, and you've helped me to see that not everything's a crisis, and I can roll through it, and I can learn, and I can tell my truth, and let people know that my heart's open. And yeah, I might be a little irritated, but that doesn't mean my heart's not open. So again, good job.
There's a definite telltale sign of whether our hearts are open or not. And the telltale sign is look around and see if people's hearts are open around you. That's the only sign. If people's hearts aren't open around you, that's because your heart's not open. It's not open wide enough to do the job. So we have to open up wider to get to a place where other people's hearts open up. And by the way, I'm on an evolutionary scale of this thing. I am nowhere. I'm just knowing that this is my path. It might take me till I'm 80 if I make it before I do the potential that I hope that I can. But right now, I'm just learning about love. I'm 49 years old. I'm barely scratching the surface of learning about how to love people. I'll tell you, for the rest of my life, that will be the journey now. And I didn't start this journey till I was 49. Even in the first 9 years, it wasn't about love. It was only recently that this became what it is. And now it's a pathway forever. And I hope to gain the potential to keep to stay open. I don't stay open right now a full day.
Yeah.
I close down on people, yell at them, get angry, protect myself. I just know it's the pathway now. And I've been taught that that's the pathway.
But now that you know, at least you can venture over there occasionally and go, oh, that was kind of fun.
Yes. Yeah.
And the evolution that I've seen with you in the 2.5 years is pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who's next? Brittany, Joshua's friend, just
and Amanda.
chat, and then she and then she lost service. Hey Amanda, let's get you unmuted.
Hi.
Hi.
Art, was wondering if you could talk some more about how to not fear. It's something I'm thinking about it so much. I know that perfect love drives out fear. I believe that's true. And yet I just have so much fear.
This is a great question. I love that you gave this question because I actually have an answer, I think. And I want you to see, and this takes very truthful, and there might be people that disagree with me and fight this. And I understand if you disagree, and I understand if you fight this. But you have to make a distinction between how much of this is fear for your identity compared to how much fear it is for your son, the reality of what could happen. So you've got to separate these two fears, because a lot of the fear that you're feeling is the fear of they. And what I mean by that is, what will they think of me as a mother? What will they think of us as a family? And what will they think about, what are people thinking about us? And what do I tell my friends at the dinner party? And what do and a lot of that fear is identity fear. It's our own identity. I used to get angry with the drug addicts in my program. And what I saw was, most of the time, it was because it was about me. It was because their behavior is making me look bad. And that's going to go out and spread that I'm a terrible treatment provider. And so I got to a place where I could separate that out and go, well, what's the reality here? He's smoking weed. What's the reality of what's the danger? What real danger are we in? And so to eliminate some of the fear is to sit there, Amanda, and ask yourself, what real fear is there? What's the threat right now? And that will be a way to eliminate some of the fear. Just, is there a real threat? Is there guns, or is there this, or is there that? And that's fearful. Or is it just identity fear right now? There's no real threat, but I'm worried about what this will look like long term, and how I did as a parent. And is this my fault? And why did I say this to him when he was 12? And why did I put him in this special school? And all that stuff. Yeah. But right there, you see, right now, everyone on here knows that you just opened your heart. And that's the space that you need to be in when you talk to your son. That space that you're in right now will melt him. And if you can stay there and invoke that kind of feeling and honesty when you're with him, you will move mountains. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda.
But there's a lot of real fear too. So it's there. And I'm not saying it's easy. Who's next?
We got a lot of people we haven't heard from lately. Christy, Guadalupe. I see Tracy Carly out there. Danielle.
Well, what we got Lisa new. We could hear from Lisa.
Yeah, is she still on? We might have lost her for service.
Yeah,
you-
I'm here,
yes,
but
you're there. If you can turn your camera on, I can put you up on the screen. I can't put people on the screen if their camera's not on. It doesn't let me. So if that's possible, otherwise we can still hear you. We just can't get you up on.
well, I don't really, yeah, I don't know if I really know what to say. I mean, our daughter has, she's been in addiction for quite some time, and the only thing I'm familiar with is 12-step Nar-Anon type stuff. So kind of what you're talking about tonight, for me, I'm really trying to digest all of it. I mean, I think I identify the most with the previous mom that was just speaking about fear being the biggest feeling surrounding all of it. And unfortunately that can lead to anger and other type feelings. And I also 1,000% agree with her that it's all okay to have those feelings. I don't really know, as a parent or, a loved one who loves the addict can feel. I just don't. But, we're pretty much at a loss about what to do to help her. So, unfortunately, and I know that Art and I agree on this wholeheartedly, fentanyl is a different kind of beast. And, I don't want it to be our decision for her to go to treatment. I want it to be her decision. But the problem is this drug is so overpowering for people that if we don't do something to intervene, the consequences are she dies. So it's really hard to not get in this place of fear and control and, just utter crazy on trying to solve the problem. Like, what is the solution? Because nothing that we've done so far has worked. And I've just spent 5 days on the run with her, having gone to a second rehab and it not succeeding again. So, yeah, I don't know really what else to say. That's where we're at. I don't know if my husband is on the line or not. That's where we're at. And all I can do is breathe in and breathe out and keep trying to find solutions.
It's
So
beautiful. Lisa, what you said is beautiful, and it's honest, and it locates you right in the middle of this war that you're in. And we can find that location, and it's called Solution Group, and it's been called that for 7 years because there's answers. There's people that have been through what you've been through, and we do know the way out, and we do know how to guide you, and that's what we're here for. And there's tons of people that are on Mom's Group tomorrow that will attest to the fact that we do know what we're doing, that fentanyl will 100% eliminate. The first thing that it knocks out, the first thing that it does for sure is eliminates the capacity to make decisions. That's the first thing it does. It eliminates that capacity. And that's what it has to do, because if you really have to do a drug that you know for sure your friend just died of yesterday, you obviously have lost the capacity to make decisions. And that's how fentanyl works. It takes away that capacity, and we can't allow people. Anyone in America that did fentanyl today needs to be in treatment today. There's nobody that does fentanyl and doesn't need treatment. It does not happen any other way. Fentanyl requires treatment. I've seen other drugs not require treatment like this, but fentanyl, in fact, does. And I've never seen anyone come out of it without treatment. It's not something you just lay in a bathtub and kick for a couple days and move on with your life. Never. Cocaine might be like that. Even booze might be like that. A lot of people quit booze and just say, you know what, I just stopped. A lot of people quit meth. They say, you know what, I just stopped. Even people have quit heroin. I've never seen anyone do fentanyl. I've never seen it grab a hold of someone and have them get out. But your honesty is all that is necessary here. It's not necessary for you to have even answers. We're here to have those for you. And so are the people that have already been through it. And so, but that honesty and just what you're doing as a mother and how you've attacked this situation and took control, that's good. In Al-Anon, they have a motto, and I strongly disagree with it. And the motto is, can't cure it, didn't cause it, can't control it. That is a helpless way of being. No, we can absolutely make a difference. And you're absolutely, what we've seen 100% to be true is the family makes a difference. The family can make a difference. Not saying you caused it, not saying control, but you can make changes. And those changes and those strategies will eliminate this problem if you do them right long enough.
Absolutely.
And you stick with it. We know that from our experience. We know that. We know, in fact, the only major contributor to what we've seen, the number one contributor to changing a drug addict's life is their family. We've seen it over and over, and we will not be told otherwise. There's nothing else. Families absolutely could change it. My dad ended my addiction, and I thank God for him every day. I did not want to stop using drugs. He made me stop. So that whole adage that the addict's got to want it, not true. Nobody wants to quit fentanyl. Nobody can. It's not easy. Somebody's got to put the bag over your head and hold you and suffocate you, because you cannot suffocate yourself. You cannot hold the bag there. You will take it off. And somebody's got to be there to hold you accountable. So, but this is it, you know. What we find is people come here as a last resort, as a last hope, but we wish they'd come here first, because we'd save you a lot of dough.
Okay.
Anybody, where else after coming here?
Yeah. We usually get, well, we sent them to Montana, or it's always somewhere in Montana. Everyone's sending people to Montana. There's some guy out there who's got a ranch. And
then they come here.
Yeah, it's like Arkansas, Alabama. There's all these guys with these ranches that people are going to go, okay.
Yeah. Well, I was headed there first.
Already laughing. See? Already laughing. There's a solution.
Yeah.
Join us moms tomorrow, Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. I will, for sure.
There's laughter and tears on Mom's Group. All of it's welcome.
Okay.
Now, I hope to those addicts, the people who are on here, people at Kent, and the people here, and anyone else on here who's on their pathway, I hope that that this becomes your passion too. That learning from this addiction that you had, and learning from the story of your own life, and trying to look at it in a way that you can say, I'm grateful for these lessons. The quicker you get on there, the better. The quicker you get on that's what's going on here, the more grateful you will live, and the more you will understand that you're not a victim, that this thing is there to teach you, and you're actually very blessed. You're very blessed to be able to learn from this thing, and you're very blessed that you're not gone. that it's still, that you're still breathing and you had a chance to keep going. So, you know, it's important that the quicker in recovery that we can get on to this thing being my teacher, and what can I learn from it? What can I read about it? How can I have it change me? How can I have it over? Oh man, what a good spot to be in. There's no way to fail at that point. There isn't, because it's all just learning, and it's grateful to be learning. So I encourage everyone that's going through this, and everyone that's a family member, the quicker you get on board with the fact that this is your teacher, the better this goes. And it'll turn for you at that very moment. At the very moment that you decide this isn't your problem, but it is your teacher, at that very moment, things change. And I don't know anywhere else around in the world where they're saying this addiction is beautiful, and addiction is this gorgeous thing that can show up in your life and make you a better human being and more capable of compassion and more capable of love. But we're saying it here because it's true. And we've seen it too many times.
All right, who else? We've got a little time left. Who else is out there that has a share, needs a little help? Did you unmute yourself because you're trying to get my attention? Let's see.
I did.
Okay, great. Hi, Jim.
Hi there. I did my manual raise hand. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. Okay, yes. Hi.
Hi, Angie. Hi, Art. Hey, I want to thank you guys again for all your help and your wisdom and your guidance here. I really appreciate what you shared tonight as well. And I'm wondering, do you have a book, like a coloring book or something that has all this stuff in it that we can look at and go through? And do you have a recommended reading list?
Well, one, we're on a lot of books. We read everything that comes around. I grab and read. But your daughter and everyone here in the program right now, we're reading a book by a lady named Tara Brach, and it's called Radical Compassion. And we can put it up. Yeah. This is the book we're on. We've got 2 chapters left, and they've all completed it. And it's just a gorgeous book, and it'll change you if you read it. So that's what Hannah's reading now, and you know.
But we do have a recommended book list. Yes, I'll shoot it to you.
Yeah.
If you're part of the Family Battle, so there's a private group on Facebook. So there's the public Battlefield Addiction page. That's public. Mm-hmm. But there's a private group called the Family's Battle. If you're in that private group and you click on files, the recommended book list is listed there. So that's where you can find it. But Jim, I will send it directly to you. And if anybody else wants me to send it directly to you, just reach out to me, shoot me a text, and I'll send it to you.
Christy's got her hand.
Oh, Becky,
right, thank you.
You can also find the book list on our website. Well, that's genius, Becky. Thank you. It's even easier that way. So there you go. Thank you. Imagine that. Hi, Christy.
Hello. Hey, I just wanted to talk about the fear thing. I feel like I get where you're coming from with the, like, you know, how it makes you feel as a parent. And I do feel like for me, that was more an anger reaction when, like, I'm angry because he's not behaving the way I'm supposed to. And I do think, however you take that reaction, I think that's totally true. That's a first phase thing, and then hopefully you move out of that. But with the fear thing, I have 2 other kids, and I'm sure many of the moms on here have more than one child. And like, I feel like you can be fearful of just like your kid going to college, or your kid driving a car, or I mean, there's so many things that you fear as a mom because you're responsible for this being, them living.
Yes.
So, I think when it comes to, I don't obviously have an answer because I feel like I have to work on pushing fear away regularly. My grandson, my daughters, Gibson, whatever it is. So maybe that helps people, like if they have a way of dealing
So
with.
what you think, and I believe this, I think what you shine the light on something for me, because I think what you're saying is that identity fear is turned to, it makes you angry. And the fear, the pure fear of, oh shit, my son could die tonight, there's no anger in that fear. That's just fear. That's like the planes could crash fear, right?
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
feel like as your kid is in addiction, or maybe they're behaving in a bad way and it's not dealing with addiction, I feel like as a parent that would be normal to be, whether you're fearful or you're angry or whatever, because that identity, right? I think it's just a normal thing to feel, but I think I got past that with mine, but the fear thing, I think it's just like, you could be fearful of your other kids that aren't addicts. So, I mean, how do you deal with that? You could be fearful that your dog got away, or, there's a lot of things to be fearful of. So, it's like, how do you get rid of that? I have to.
I'm going to tell a story after that, and then and after Brittany here. And
Okay. All right. Hi, Brittany.
Hi.
Hi, Brittany.
Hi, Josh. It's good to see you. Oh my God. Yeah. So just so everybody knows, I'm actually a registered nurse, and I just want to bring up to the moms to please make sure you're using your coping skills. I want you to make sure you're journaling, seeing a therapist, joining groups, making sure you're doing mindful movement once a day. It's really important being the support group. We've been talking about love this whole time. You need to take care of your self-love as well. They're doing their thing and they are going to work. And so it's your job to make sure you're okay too, because this is heavy. This is tough. Your feelings are valid, and we're all going to get through this together. We need to have love for ourselves, love for our family, and we're all going to make it through this. Like, make sure we're all using our good coping skills.
Thanks, Brittany.
Yes.
And then Joshua, can we? Do you see the message from your mama? Okay, great. Thank you, Jillian. Joshua sees your message. Thanks so much for that.
So there's a beautiful story of, I think it's tough love or something like that, but it might not be. It might be just evolution of somebody who's involved. But Noah Levine is a gentleman who started what's called Refuge Recovery. It's a huge movement that started, and it was a Buddhist recovery program out of LA. It's big in LA. And we've had Dave Smith on, who also founded it. Dave's part of, I've studied with Dave a bit. And Noah Levine tells this story of he's a 16-year-old juvenile. And he ends up for the 5th time or so in juvenile hall. And he's in jail. And so he calls his father at about 3 p.m. Now his father is a meditator. His father is a practitioner. His father learned a lot of this stuff already. So he calls his dad at 3 p.m. His dad says, Noah says, "Dad, I need help. I need help." And his father, Stephen Levine, says, "Call me back at 8 p.m. tonight." And so Noah gets off the phone. He goes and tells everybody he's in jail with. He says, "Dad's going to help me. Going to be out of here at 8 o'clock. He's surely going to bail me out. He's going to help." And Noah's excited. So he calls his dad back at 8 or 9 p.m. And his dad says, "Noah, are you somewhere quiet?" And Noah says, "Yes." And he goes, "Good. I'm going to teach you to meditate." And that's what he did. It didn't bail him out of the situation, but rather gave him a tool and said either use the tool or don't. But that's a beautiful story of what tough love is and what a man has done to get rid of his fear of his son's demise or his son's thing long before the problem started happening. And this man has practiced and done this and was at a place of evolution where he was able to keep his heart open and just say, I'm okay with you being in jail, or I'm okay with that. There's no fear about your life. So here, we'll just teach you to meditate. And I think that's a good example of somebody of what tough love is. It's accountable. It's a tool. This is how I help you. I give you tools. That's all I have for you. I don't have anything else. I don't have bail money or whatever those things, you know. So I don't know why that story came up with you, Christy, but that's just a story of like what can happen when we just take all these lessons for ourselves and get to a place where where, like you said, where you're pushing your own fear away. But maybe you don't have to push it away. Maybe you take it all in.
Well, meditation works for me. I just don't know if it works for everybody. But you got to find a way to cope with the fear, because fear is out there in all kinds of ways, right? So, but this program teaches a lot, definitely, about the open heart, like getting over the anger part, I think, you know, and opening your heart. So grateful for that, for sure. That helped way more than just with the addict. Like, oh my God.
Thank you, Christy.
Thanks, Christy. Deanna Kemp, did you unmute yourself? You want to say something? Hi.
Yes.
You're
Hello.
Andy's grandma. Hi there.
I am. You know, and I understand about all the steps, you know, that you were talking about. I was never really angry at her, I guess, because, you know, I'm that one step removed as grandma, not mom or dad.
Yeah.
I've been very fearful for her, of course. When she was younger, I always tried to be her port in the storm. I was the one that, you know, rescued her. You know, if mom and dad were fighting, grandma came and got her. And I always tried to be there for her. You know, when she needed gas for her car, I would get her gas. You know, I always wanted to be her port in the storm.
Yeah.
And then something happened between us, and a wall kind of built up to us, between us. And I haven't seen her really. I think I've seen her once in the last 3 years. Doesn't mean I stopped loving her. I love her every day. You know, there's been many sleepless nights that I've worried about her, but always loved her. But now I'm to that point where I want to open my heart to her, but I don't know how to start, because I feel like there's this wall built up between her and I want to bring that wall down. But I can bring mine down, but I don't know how to bring hers down.
Well, you just did it.
How do I start?
You just did it. She's right there. She's looking at you. You just did it. There you go. You're already doing it.
I love you, baby girl. Always have, always will, no matter what. I hope you know that.
There she is.
Unmute, Nico.
Oh, so here.
No, he's gonna.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do for her.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Glad you're on. Keep coming.
Andy, tell her you love her.
She said.
Glad you're on.
I know we didn't hear it.
Loves you and call you later.
Yeah.
I love you and call you later. Beautiful.
Perfect.
All right. Sadly, we're out of time tonight, so I'm going to close up. All I want to say is what I wanted people to locate themselves in this journey. And the reason I want people to locate, because I want you to know what's next. And I want you to be able to, if you can find yourself in this journey, whether, again, you're filled with anger and frustration and you're in the war, or whether your heart is closed and you've cut your loved one off, or whether your loved one is in treatment or your loved one is out there on the street or whatever. I want people to locate themselves on this evolutionary path, because addiction does what it does. And it's scientific, and it will do what it does, and it will move you along this path whether you like it or not. And so understand where you're going next. And if you locate yourself, you can see, this is where I'm going to be next. Oh, good. I'm in the war right now. Well, he says there's going to be the treatment part, and we're going to have the peace and the clearing. And yes, it's coming. It comes for everyone. The thing is, take advantage of that next step when they're in treatment. Do it right. You know, get together and reconnect and get the anger out and get at peace with each other and open your heart. And if they go back out, it'll be different. It might go back out, but it can be different. There won't be all that stuff might not be there. There might be full love and still, and it might be quick, and it might get them back quicker. And so we'll just locate yourself, because that's where you're going to go next. This is a roadmap. I've tried to give you a roadmap. I'm telling you what's going to happen to your family. It is. I know Amanda and the Carlsons are in the war, and I know Lisa's in the war, and I know what's next for you. So it'll come when you get there. Take advantage of it. A lot of people say, man, I'd be so happy it was if my kid's in treatment, and their kid gets in treatment. They're never happy. You know, and it's like, think of where you're at in this journey, because I want you to be grateful for every part of it. Understand that it's good all the way through. It's just tough. It's difficult. Difficult's good because you're growing. So I hope it helps. For me, my pathway now, I'm over the anger of addicts. I don't get very angry at them anymore. Very, very rarely, actually, none at all. I get more angry at Kyle. I get more angry at the people who are managing than I do them. So I got to get through that and try to open my heart to them guys. But what do? I'm their boss. Sometimes you got to yell. But you just get to a point where, but I do say that I'm working on, in my life, a brand of love. And I want you to think about that. I want everyone to think, and maybe you and Mom's Group can talk about what is your, if you have love in your heart, what's the brand? What is it providing? Who feels it? How do you know they feel it? What's going on? And what's going on with your love? Where is it going? Who is it going to? How is it affecting people? Is it holding people accountable? What's it doing? So we need to distinguish what it's doing, and because love does. So again, that's what I'm working on, and I'm going to continue to work on that. And again, an honor to be here and listen and get to be involved with your families. We never want to lose that. We love it. It's an honor. We're here all the time. You can text us any time of day. We always respond, and you never bother us. We are not bothered by any of the people that we help. So please text anytime. Get a hold of us in any of your crises, and anytime you need to vent, anytime you need to talk to us. So once again, thank you for the opportunity to help your family, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much.